Every word carries weight. Some clarify, some protect, most just take from you. Every time you speak, you trade presence for noise. You think you're connecting, but you're leaking. You think you're seen, but you're just spread out, thin, predictable, fragile. The Stoics knew speech is risk, and silence is power withheld. Not weakness, not passivity, not shyness. Control. The more you explain, the more you reveal, and what you reveal can be used against you, behind you, without you even knowing. So speak less. Let your stillness speak more, because the loudest man in the room is never the one being listened to. And if you want strength, don't perform it. Contain it. When you speak ill of others, you teach people to fear you. Not to trust you, to fear you. Because if you speak that way about them, you'll speak that way about me. The Stoics warned, slander poisons the speaker long before it poisons the room. You think you're bonding? You're broadcasting, showing your bitterness, revealing your insecurity, spilling your own weakness to sound strong. And they nod, they laugh, but inside, they step back. Because the one who tears others down is the one who can't be trusted when things get dark. So say less about them, about anything that's not yours, not for their sake, for your presence. Because real power doesn't talk down, it stands above, quietly. And fear will still walk in with you, but it'll belong to the right people. When you always have an answer, no one asks you anything real. They stop opening up, they stop trusting your space, they smile, but keep their depth away from you. The Stoics didn't need to sound wise, they needed to be wise. And real wisdom, it listens more than it speaks. But you cut people off. You speak before they finish. You offer fixes when all they needed was your stillness. You don't leave space, you fill it. And eventually, you're the only one talking. The know-it-all ends up alone, not because people hate him, but because they can't feel safe around him. There's no room, no pause, no place to land. So let others speak. Let silence stay. Let your eyes do the understanding. You don't need to win the room, you need to make it safe. Because nothing kills connection faster than someone who can't stop proving they're right. Saying you'll do it isn't doing it. Explaining the plan doesn't move the feet. And dreaming out loud without execution is just escapism disguised as clarity. The Stoics didn't announce, they acted. They didn't ask for support. They asked themselves, is it worth doing? Then do it. You keep speaking to avoid starting. You call it brainstorming, vision, strategy, but really, you're scared of the first step because action requires risk, silence requires strength, and most would rather talk than commit. But the more you speak of it, the more it dies. Its edge fades, its weight softens, its urgency disappears. So stop describing, start building. Let them see it when it's done, not when it's just wishful air. Because talking won't make you brave. Doing it in silence will. The louder you are, the less they hear you. Because volume isn't power, it's a cover. A cover for insecurity, for desperation, for a lack of substance. The Stoics didn't need to raise their voice. They lowered the room by walking in, not shouting in. By being still, not being loud. People respect silence when it comes from a man who could speak but doesn't. Because restraint is a louder language than noise will ever be. You talk too much and they tune you out. You talk over and they walk away. But when you say little, when your eyes speak first, when your posture finishes the sentence, they listen. Not because you forced them to, but because your presence required it. So speak less, mean more. And remember, those who carry real weight don't need to push it around. Every time you overshare, you weaken the walls around you. Not because they'll judge you, but because not everything was meant to be held by other people. Some truths are yours, some pains aren't for comfort. Some visions lose strength the moment they leave your mouth. The Stoics knew, privacy isn't secrecy, it's protection. And when you speak your struggles to the wrong ears, you don't get healing. You get exposure. Now they know. Now they have it. Now they can turn it. And even if they don't, you've scattered pieces of your armor to feel momentarily seen. But what you needed was to be held by your own clarity, not by temporary attention. So say less, keep more. Let silence be the shield between your soul and the world's hands. Because not everything real needs to be heard to be valid. Some things gain weight by staying untouched. Some things shouldn't be said, especially about the ones who built you. A complaint, a half-truth, a moment of frustration you share too easily. And suddenly the people listening think less of the ones who would bleed for you. The Stoics knew. Loyalty lives in silence, not because it hides, but because it honors. And when you speak casually about those closest to you, you don't sound strong. You sound broken, like someone who forgot what it meant to protect where you come from. Even if they're not perfect, they are yours. And if you let the world feed on your family's flaws, then you've handed them a weapon you can never take back. So stop, catch the sentence, swallow the heat, write it if you must, but don't leak it into rooms that won't hold it. Because one reckless phrase can fracture what decades built. And strength, real strength, knows when to stay quiet out of love. When you're always speaking, you hear nothing. Not the tone, not the shift, not the truth hidden beneath someone else's silence. The Stoics mastered presence because they mastered the art of listening, not just to words, to hesitation, to energy, to what wasn't said. But when your mouth never rests, your awareness shrinks. You dominate the space and lose the information. You miss the clues, you miss the warnings, you miss the very thing that would have changed how you move next. Power doesn't need volume, it needs perception. And perception is earned by stillness. So stop, let the room breathe, let the story unfold without your narration. Because the one who listens sees more, knows more, holds more. And when it's time to speak, he says less, but says exactly what's needed. Silence isn't absence, it's strategy. The moment you start comparing, envy starts breathing. And where does it enter? Through the mouth. A comment, a complaint, a disguised compliment laced with bitterness. The Stoics stayed silent not just to appear wise, but to guard their peace from what talking can awaken. Because every time you mention what someone else has, you awaken the voice in you that says, I don't. And now your power is fractured. You begin to resent, to chase, to justify your place by criticizing theirs. But you weren't made to compare. You were made to build. And envy, it doesn't announce itself. It creeps, it enters with your own voice, it grows in your own echo, until it clouds your focus and poisons your pace. So say nothing. When praise isn't pure, swallow it. When jealousy stirs, sit with it in silence, until it dies. Because envy can't grow where the tongue is still. And silence is the soil of self-control. One wrong sentence and the bridge collapses. Not because you meant harm, but because you didn't measure. Words build, words burn. And most of the time, you don't realize you lit the match until it's already ash. The Stoics spoke with precision because they understood. Every relationship is a thread, and your tongue can either tighten it or tear it. You joke too far, you share too much, you speak from emotion, not direction. And suddenly, someone who trusted you doesn't anymore. They don't tell you. They just step back, quietly, permanently. You didn't just lose a conversation, you lost a connection. So speak slow, speak rare. Speak as if every word has to earn its place, because the ones who matter don't need you loud. They need you present, aware, accountable. And the ones who stay are the ones you didn't push away with careless noise. Some words can't be taken back. Not because they hurt, but because they revealed what was meant to be held. You shared what wasn't yours. You told a story that someone gave you in confidence. And now you've lit a fire under something sacred. The Stoics knew. Trust is a bridge, and one careless word is all it takes to burn it. You didn't lie, you didn't even mean harm, but you spoke without permission, and that's enough. Because when people give you their truths, they don't want understanding, they want protection. And when you fail to protect it, you lose more than a friend. You lose respect, reputation, access, So when someone hands you their silence, don't fill it with noise. Guard it. Sit with it. Let it stay their story. Because real strength knows how to carry what doesn't belong to you. And when you master that, they'll trust you with more than words. The more you speak, the more you need to remember what you said, how you said it, who you said it to, and slowly, you stop living. You start managing stories, versions, masks. The Stoics didn't lie, not because they were holy, but because truth is easier to carry. When you speak less, you align. When you speak too much, you drift. And soon, you forget what's real. You bend facts, you fill silences, you decorate moments that needed none. And the worst part? You don't just lie to others, you lie to yourself. Now your image becomes more important than your integrity. Now you rehearse instead of reflect. So stop. Let truth breathe. Let space exist between questions and answers. You don't need to explain, you need to stand. Because a man who needs memory to uphold his identity has already lost it. You don't need to prove, you don't need to perform, you don't need to speak to be heard. Silence is not absence, it's presence, contained. It's a man who knows what he knows, and doesn't hand it out like it's cheap. The Stoics didn't preach, they practiced, quietly, fiercely, without needing validation for what already lived inside. And the world, it talks too much, it moves too fast, it rewards noise but follows stillness. So be still, be cold, be clear. Speak only when silence can't hold the truth anymore. And the rest of the time, rule from quiet. Because real power doesn't shout, it doesn't beg, it just stands, and everyone around it adjusts.